Welcome to a segment now that we're calling the Game of Stones Roundtable, where stone fabricators and stone industry experts, we discuss some major topics, hot topics in the industry. So welcome Jim Hieb from the Natural Stone Institute, John Kaplan from Poseidon and Kaplan Consulting, Mr. Victor DeOliveira from Discover Surfaces, and Vinny Dip from Element Granite and Quartz, and of course I'm Joe Alva.
So Jim, you had some questions when we were kind of chatting as we were getting ready for the podcast. Why don't you throw those out there to kind of get things rolling a little bit?
You know, I was thinking about just the growth that every business leader goes through. And we sometimes look back on our careers and say, what was I thinking? I wish I had done that 5 years ago. I'd be in such a better situation right now. And so Victor, I was thinking about you sitting next to Vinny and the friendship that you've created over the years. And Victor, you can think about Vinny and where he's at in his business, trying to put all the systems in place, utilizing John as a consultant, acknowledging that he doesn't have all the answers, but he can surround himself with people that do.
Wait a second. What do you mean not have all the answers?
He doesn't have all the answers. That's why he's turning to you. You know, Victor, you're a few years older than Vinny, but if you were to look back on your business and when you were the size of Vinny's operation, what do you wish you had done or known at that time?
Wait, what's the size of your operation right now, more or less? Square feet a week or?
Square feet, we're trying to get about 300 to 400 square feet a day, all residential. But we normally have a big multi-family job once a year. That would normally bring us the other 300 to 400 square feet a day. But
today you're about 300, 250
about
a day?
350, 400, all residential. Right. But in Philly, our average size jobs are probably like 30 square feet, 35 square feet. So that's
You're right in the city, right?
Yeah. So then the square footage doesn't look so great, but as far as job counts,
it's amount of jobs.
in it's about like 5, 7, 8 jobs sometimes. So
5, 7 jobs a day.
yes.
And you think about everyone that's going to be watching this roundtable for Game of Stones, they can picture themselves, they're in the same ballpark you are. Victor's been there, you've been through it. What piece of advice do you wish you had given yourself then that you could give to Vinny and everyone else that's trying to get over that hump of 300 to 400 square feet a day to take it to that next level?
And even though Victor doesn't need much of an introduction, but what's your volume that you're at today? Just for reference.
Overall, company-wide, we're slightly over 2,000 square feet a day. But we've been 3,000, 3,200 square feet a day, right? And I guess to your question is exactly that. It's if I was going to do this again, where I was at an earlier stage in the business, it's really thinking about the future in the way of the return on your business, like not just the top line, but bottom line, right? And because that's extremely important. I think when we set out to build an organization and we have all these really high goals and we chase that top revenue and a lot of times that come at a cost. It comes at a cost. You're sacrificing margins, quality of life. It can get very chaotic in this industry, as we know.
I love that. Sorry.
Yeah, so I think it's that number one is you look at the business and what do you want out of the business? What do you want it to pay you back or your employees? And then, it's working with professionals like John Kaplan is a great example to help structure that, the processes and the systems early on, because there's going to be a lot of mistakes made that can be avoided, a lot of mistakes. And I wish I had known that early on, but also I think the industry has evolved quite a bit to offer those tools now that we didn't have 15 years ago, right? So they're out there, and not to use them right now would be just you're leaving money on the table, and you're creating more of that chaos without the need to be in that chaos.
I think something to think about that people don't put enough attention to is developing the mindset. Mindset's huge, and we want to go in and make the donuts or cut the stone or sell the job, but not put enough upfront work on getting your mindset right, your skill set right, developing your habits as you go in to develop that path. Vinny, how are you handling something like that?
The goal I set out a few years ago when we aligned, Joe gave me some guidance of how he's restructuring Poseidon, where it got a lot better, where you got yourself out of the business. So my goal in the next couple of years, hopefully, is to get myself out of business. So people, not out of the business, but
Out of the day-to-day.
the day-to-day. Yeah. It's pretty much like not working in your business every day, but working on your business. But right now, I'm heavily involved in templating, installation, setting machines, measuring diameters on tools. Everything you have that goes on in a fabrication shop, I can do. I can touch. I can program everything. But sometimes me knowing how to do it could be a problem as well, because I just choose to do it because I can do it a little faster, a little quicker than somebody else. But in reality, sometimes I learn from guys like John, give a second, take a pause, let them try it. You'll be shocked. Even though they do 80%, 80%, that's still good enough, where you just come in for the other 20% only. So if you had 10 phone calls, 8 they'll take care of it, 2 would come to you. Like, I'd rather have that than all 10 come to me, because if you keep taking it, and then our instincts as owners and entrepreneurs, we jump in wherever it's fire.
Yeah, it's hard to let it go, right? But I said it when we talked earlier. It's the people that you surround yourself with in your business. They're the ones that actually, we think that we're the ones who have to let go, and by bringing the right people in, putting them in the right places, they automatically, that's going to happen. But obviously we need to scale to do that. And that was my whole thing about growth. What I liked about growth is creating those departments and giving our people the opportunity to grow into leadership roles within those departments. That was exciting to me. It still is to this day. And to watch them grow and become and do well in life, because it's not just about the success of the business, it's about their personal successes as well. And the rewarding part of the business that I can say over the years has been that's been the number one reward. Having the right people will automatically do that. And I said it earlier, everybody that has that leadership role in the company can do the job better than I can. And I thought at one point in the past that I had to be involved in everything. Now, I never take myself completely out of operations, never did. And the few times that I did just because I was focusing on whether it was growth or just having a new facility being built, and it distracted me from day to day. And believe it or not, it impacted those numbers, because I lost the ability for that period of time to lead my team, and they need leadership. So as long as you lead in your team, but that means you're not fixing the machine, but you understand how the machine works, and you can hold people accountable to make sure that the maintenance gets done, right? Yeah. Same thing with sales. Honestly, there's always somebody out there that's going to do the job better than we can. 100%. And our job is just to strategize, paint that vision, that picture of where we want to go, and just guide them in that direction.
The biggest thing that you said, I learned from Joe and John, is accountability. Mm-hmm. When the accountability chart, nobody can hide under a rock.
Right.
But you gotta expose it. You gotta put it on, not on blast, but everybody sees it. Like, if it's just me and one of my employees, if they know that I'm doing a review or see their scorecard, for example, it's not me. Sometimes if their peers see it, they're more embarrassed amongst their peers.
Well, one of the exercises we did at Element, which I think was a huge eye-opener in the beginning, is we asked everybody what they thought their accountabilities were before we told them what their accountabilities were.
Totally different from what you're thinking as the owner, right?
Didn't it just blow your mind away when everybody said, this is what I'm accountable for, and you're thinking, holy shit, I can't believe that guy thinks he's accountable for that.
I don't know if you had ever had experience with John doing like the vision day and everything else, but it was like a dagger into my heart. Like,
it's scary.
Exposing, pretty much they ripped the business apart and seeing all the, like how bad it was actually ran. Yep. I thought I was running a well-oiled machine. But when you have somebody else from the outside that has no emotion to your business, look from a sky level view, they do it with just grace, like boom.
Yeah, it's a great day.
I think also what you described is you took great job satisfaction in doing the template and fixing the machine and doing that. You went home that day saying, look at what I accomplished. Then there's that shift to now taking job satisfaction in this employee took care of templating, this employee took care of it. And it's natural as leaders that we evolve and we focus on the things we love to do. And sometimes you have to say, I love doing that, but man, I got to take a step back, let this person be successful so I can go work on my business rather than in my business.
Joe, as Poseidon grows, we run into the same thing. It's not just in the fabrication business. At Poseidon, we ran through a lot of those challenges.
Oh, yeah.
Anything specifically pop out to you?
Yeah, like everything. I just thought it was great what you said. First of all, so what he does is a part of the process of coming in to analyze your company. This is when we brought him on as a consultant. He goes in and he basically will dissect every department, and then whoever that person is, like if the company's small, it could be the same person that's in charge of scheduling, that's in charge of scheduling the template to schedule the install, right? In that sense. And so getting everybody's accountabilities for that position, and then realize that really there was nobody that was claiming that accountability. And so it's all on the business owner, and that's a huge stress, and that's why you end up being, and so that was a huge eye opener for me, as well as the first couple months, the meetings are without me. So me, of course, when they communicated with me, it was different. And then I'm hearing a different point of view that they really have when they're talking to a third party. And so a lot of stuff comes out, like you said, like you get fully exposed and then you're like, oh, I guess I'm not doing everything perfectly the way it should be. And so that was a tremendous eye opener. And it was able to allow me to accomplish that, getting out of the day to day so I can focus on the things that that the company needs, which is the marketing, the sales training, the sales strategy and things like that. So yeah, it's an amazing thing to leverage Kaplan Consulting, Natural Stone Institute, the Rockheads groups for networking. I mean, some of the best, some of the coolest things I've learned, and even just like small little things, right? Like somebody would say, for example, right person, right seat. And that gets ingrained in you, and you hear it before, but then you think you know what it means. And I think that a lot of small business owners all have the same pitfalls, and that's one of them, because what you're saying is true. Right person, though, we got to get the right person, and I think that we don't invest enough time in finding the right people, right? Everybody does. I joke around and I say we do the 10-minute interview. Is your driver's license valid? Does this pay rate sound good? When can you start? Are you an American citizen? Like, and okay,
You
can
fog
you
a
start
mirror?
Monday? Like,
Sure.
that's pretty much it.
So you're doing 36 million.
Yeah.
Is it any different than when
It's
you're
easier.
at-
Can you
Honestly.
negotiate the towers with me? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Because I knew you gave me a good deal, so I was okay. I was okay with that. I mean, when we scaled up to that level, actually running the business wasn't as difficult as you think. Your business, if it goes from 5 to 10, 10 to 15, 15 to 20, it shouldn't, not that it doesn't, it does, but it shouldn't go up in the same rate in complexity. It actually should be simplified because you're now organizing and structuring your business so that weight that you carry now gets spread out to other leaders within the organization. I do have to say one thing though that can be very dangerous is that we can never, especially being in business for 15 years, you said?
Yep.
We dream of the day that we don't get the number of phone calls we get, the number of emails we get, and the number of questions that we get. And I hear that a lot from business owners, like, I want to remove myself from operations. I want to work on the business, not in the business. But the reality is, especially in this industry and its complexities, you can never, ever not work, in the business. You cannot afford not to be involved in day to day. It's different. Because now you're analyzing data, right? You're analyzing things that kind of point you in the right direction because you can't be everywhere at the same time. Right. So you're still working in the business, but in a different way. You're creating a process, you're creating a system that feeds you the information that now you can do something useful with that
But you're
information.
there for the key decisions.
You can do the trainings, you can help out, with a certain department. So you're always involved somehow, somewhere. But it's fun. It gets, because you're not doing the heavy lifting, right? You're coming in to do the cool thing, train people. And then it might be your managers, like they're stressed out, they might be overworked. And you come in and say, hey, let's do a weekend, take all your leadership team and take them out somewhere.
What's the total headcount that you have right now? That you have to manage?
Between all of our locations, we are about 160 to 180, depending on which time of the year.
What?
What's going on with the
How
business?
many locations?
3 fabrication shops and 3 locations.
Connecticut, Boston, and Fort Myers.
So we have about 130, 140 in the Northeast, and another 40 to 50 here in Florida. Yeah.
But the commonality in that shift is, for all of us that are growing or aspire to grow, is what are you doing to empower your people? And that thing that we all know when somebody says, what do you think? Being disciplined enough to go back to them, hey, what's your recommendation? Empowering your people to get there. And it starts with whether you've got 5 employees, 10 employees, or 100 employees, you still need to empower them. And Victor's right, not totally divorce yourself from out of the operations, but not be the person that has to make all the decisions. And that's a tough transition to go through. And even in the nonprofit world, when I look at our organization the last 10 years, we've doubled in size financially, we've doubled in size the number of employees. We're still a small organization, but you as the owner and me as the CEO, I've been there a long time. And so I've got pride in what we do, and sometimes I got to take a step back and say, you know what, this is your day to shine. What do you think we should do? The other challenge I went through is when I would say something, people would take it as a directive. Oh, I got to go do this because Jim said so. So I've become more disciplined to say, if you're looking for a suggestion, this is a suggestion, but not a directive. It's your division, it's your department. I'm here to back you up, I'm here to support you, but what do you feel is the best decision to make? And that works. And when people can go home and say, I'm trusted, I'm valued, I'm appreciated, so.
Goes a long way.
Goes a long way.
People have a need to feel important, right? I think that's one of our greatest needs as human beings, is just to feel needed, feel important. And it's amazing when you give people the power to make those decisions and make them feel important to the organization, that those decisions do matter for the towards the end result. They take it very serious, and they go the extra mile basically to make sure that they're not making mistakes.
Yeah, you got to be intentional about letting people be heard. So even when we do problem-solving meetings, we do roundtables. We go around. We before we go to a solution, we want everybody's thought or what they see to be heard. But then before we go to a solution, I think that's one of the big things that is, it's hard to. It sounds simple, but it's hard to master. And I see a lot of business owners slip into that, in and out of that, because sometimes you do it pretty good for a while, and then you fall off the rails. And so
Well, just because
somebody
there's
to
always so
look
many
down.
fires being put out, you got to
Yeah.
make quick decisions sometimes, and maybe you could have ran it by the team, make them feel a little bit more involved.
My mind's going
I
crazy
make
right
that
now when he
mistake a
said
lot, by the way.
a couple hundred employees.
Not
location.
quite a
My
couple
mind is
hundred, but we've been pretty close to that number. And I get that a lot. Like, how do you do it? How do you sleep at night? How do you have time to?
Delegation.
Do you know
It's
all their
just-
names?
I wish I try. I think it's an age thing.
Let's hear it.
I can't
Victor,
remember.
let's hear it. Give me 10 of them.
I see them on the streets.
No, I
don't even know
do.
who's
No, I'm very much, like I said, I walk through the shop every day. I have 2 offices, multiple offices, because I want to make sure that there are days that I sit in that shop floor in the office and I'm there, and my door is always open, always open. That's one thing nobody in the organization can say. Everybody has access to me. As a matter of fact, I have people coming to me like, you're just wasting time just talking to all these. No, do you know that some of the best ideas that saved us money came from guys that were polishing stones, guys that were, cleaning, you name it, maintenance guys. So it just, you never know. You never know where
One
good
thing
idea.
I did when I was running my own stone shop, and I was actually at 200, I think we had 240 people, but just something to think about. What I did is I actually moved my office away, and I intentionally wouldn't go in because I was too accessible.
I
And
know the
so
feeling, yeah.
I had that disease, I call it got a minute. So everybody was coming in, you got
Oh,
a
yeah.
minute, got a minute,
constant, yeah.
got a minute, and next thing I know, I'm like, God damn, it's 5:30.
I didn't get anything done.
I gave away all my minutes. So
That's what you were saying. You get most of your work done when you're traveling.
Yeah, a lot of times, I'm not saying that I don't do that. It's not something I do it on a daily basis. I might spend a day or two in that environment, and then I'm on the road with customers. So it's well balanced. I have to say that right now, I've gotten pulled in more into operations just because of what's going on in the industry, right? There are a lot of things that we're doing. We want to make sure that our shops are safe and clean and don't have any issues, potential issues later on down the road, whether it's OSHA inspections or what have you, safety concerns. Sometimes you have to take a step back and say, okay, what are the potential pitfalls here? Because we're moving fast day to day. And if you don't do that, before you know it, something bad could happen, and then you go, whoa, why didn't I see that coming? I wish I would have spent more time in safety training or what have you. So I try to keep things well balanced. Right now, I'm back into operations because I feel the need that, and especially training and guiding them, because I think our team lost a little bit of focus on those small things. It's all about production. It's all about serving the customer, being on time, right? Yeah. Quality, and then safety is very important in this industry, and I think we
take
lost.
your eye off that ball, right?
Yeah. So I think we lost that a little bit. So I'm kind of back in there just to.
Well, it's
sure
funny.
that
We were getting ready for this podcast. We're in our van driving here. We're so close to it. We're passionate about serving our customer. We want everybody to be happy. And so it was hard to check ourselves. We both got an email right about a service issue. And then we had to remind each other that we have a team back at the office. So we were going back and forth, kind of laughing at each other because I get the same message. I said, the team's got it. He's responding to that customer. I'm like, no, man, you can't.
Yeah, I couldn't help it, man. I shot from the hip. And I usually don't do this, but it was just this particular situation because I knew he would be tied up maybe, and we're on the way back. On top of that, the Freon ran out in the Poseidon bus. So we were figuring out that whole issue, how we're going to figure that out. And it's kind of hot and uncomfortable, and I'm just like, I fired off of a response that I've gotten way better. Like, he's helped me with that too. And as business owners, another tip, like, we find ourselves reacting a lot, and sometimes it's better to just stay silent and let some time go by before you reply. And I like that tip. It's helped me out a lot to not have, I shouldn't have done that.
We have I report to a board of directors, and they're all very talented business owners, and I want to keep them strategic. I don't want them worrying about operations. That's why they hired me. So when we're at the board table, our board president put in a monitor. If any of the board members start to get in the weeds, that person raises a hand. No. We're to stay at the strategy level. And then at the staff level, I have a couple people that I've empowered when they see me starting to try to do somebody's job for them, which is so natural that you want to do. You know how to template, you know how to do it, They said, hey, Jim, back off. You made a commitment that they were going to learn this. And so I think, it's an ongoing challenge. We're always going to be involved in operations, but we need to keep that balance.
One thing I started to impose on a lot of my team is what I learned, the 1-3-1 rule. Is if you come to me with a problem, come up with your best 3 solutions.
Right.
And you just got to pick one. And it's kind of similar to what you just said. Chances are they know better at that particular task than you do.
Yeah.
So you allow them to come up with their 3 best solutions. And now they feel accountable, like I have to come up with these 3, and I guarantee you it's like probably the best 3 that you can think of.
So I get obviously the messages and the emails all the time from our team, and they're looking to bounce an idea off of me or see if there's an option, a third option to solve a problem. And like a day like today, I'm not on my phone constantly, and I'll guarantee you there will be 10 different questions on that phone in 30 minutes when I check it. And if I get back to them, 90% of them will be resolved. So without me. So yeah, they wanted to just bounce an idea off of me or get my opinion on something. But at the end of the day, they need to come up with a solution, and they do it on their own. And that should be the case. 90% of those issues should be resolved by your people.
The hardest part I've had is, when that employee sends out their problem to 10 people.
That happens.
And then I have to look at it and say, you know what, that email was not addressed to me. I was just copied. So I'm going to take a step back, let them solve it. When they come to me, then I'll answer. But we're all fixers. We're all problem solvers. And sometimes you need to be patient and sit back a little bit, let them figure it out on their own.
So what do you guys think as the industry is evolving and we're experiencing all these different changes, what do you think the next thing that we need to focus in on?
Question. I mean, there are a lot of things right now that will have a heavy impact on cost in our industry, right? And I think as business owners in this industry, we're focusing on competitive pricing too much. Every job that we sell is quoted and probably goes up for competitive bid to a competitor. And we don't put enough money aside for big things that could come up, and there are tariffs, that's another example. So if we don't focus on our pricing strategy, then that could potentially come back to hurt us in the future. You got silica issues. So I think the industry has a lot of things that weren't there or weren't needed for us to focus on and put our time and effort into figuring it out just a short few years ago, right? So we just came out of, being in business as long as we have. We've gone through that great recession and we had to adapt to it. And then there was COVID. And then now there's tariffs and there's, for our industry itself, there's silica. So there are always something big that we need to keep our eyes on that future implication. But right now, I think we're faced with probably some of the biggest challenges that could come up to hurt us in the future. We're going to need to put time, effort, and money into these issues in the future.
So John, I'm going to ask you a question. Do you feel like the industry is growing at the moment, or is it at a stagnant, or is it declining, like the stone industry overall, our industry?
Yeah, I think it's unbelievable. I think it's growing, and it's grown and growing and evolving. It's funny because, not to be cliche, but we were in the Stone Age, and we still are. We think we're so advanced, but if you look at other industries, and that's how I started my career, really looking at other industries, tearing them apart. We're so far behind that it would blow your mind away if you saw how other companies operate and what they're looking at compared to what we're looking at. And the amount of information, technology, and all those things that are out there are now starting to come to the forefront that we're catching up. We're in just our industry in general. Did I answer that question?
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
I think to Victor's point, he's made a couple comments. One is focus on your bottom line, but also with particularly the tariff side, I said, what did we learn during COVID? There were a lot of companies that increased their prices during COVID, knowing full well they should have been increasing them all along, and they didn't. So COVID became an opportunity to increase prices, and everybody understood. I think that same parallel message exists today with tariffs, that if companies haven't been focused on their bottom line, looking at their margin levels, that they should use this time to raise prices, but then don't wait for the next COVID or the next tariff issue. Get in an annual cycle of, hey, I may have to increase my prices 2% every year, but it just becomes natural, and your customers understand that. And there's a big difference between raising 2% and 15%.
Are you guys afraid to raise prices?
Not anymore, no. I'm not, because honestly, once you take your focus from just top line and you focus in on, hey, I'm in business to make money, and it's not, you shouldn't be ashamed of saying that, because it's costly to run our business. The equipment isn't cheap. The materials aren't cheap.
What if we raised our prices?
Hey, we raise our prices. Everybody's raising their prices, you know?
We're not.
I thought we were the only ones not allowed. I'll tell you what, though, we've been in, we've had a business model where we used to work with bigger companies, big box stores, and I mean, we didn't do a lot of track builders.
Sweat after I said that.
We don't do the track builders, but the downside when you're involved in that type of in that segment of the market is that they dictate the pricing, right? And right now, I would not. We've made some really good moves, over the years, and one of the best ones is to get rid of any customer that dictate what they're willing to pay. It's our price every time. Right? We are quoting the job. Yes, we understand we need to be competitive, but you're not going to come in and tell me I can only sell this at $40 a square foot, because there's no money in that. And when you're locked in to that type of customer base, it is a very difficult thing, because now you start cutting corners internally to stay profitable, right? Now you're not taking care of your people the right way. Now you're not taking care of safety the right way. Now you can't replace or maintain your equipment the proper way. And it's a downward spiral.
Deferred maintenance, basically, to keep the numbers tight.
I've seen it way too often that happen. It happens all the time. I'm sure you've seen it in the industry, where great fabricators that were here a decade ago are no longer here for that reason.
So you go through an exercise and evaluate your customers?
I mean, we didn't used to, but
You're doing that now?
We did.
Yeah,
we
great.
took advantage of that big COVID surge after COVID in 21 and 22. We were growing, and then all of a sudden, I'm planning another expansion. I'm planning more equipment. I said, what am I doing? What happened was I signed an offer on a new building for our Connecticut operations. And the moment I signed it, I sent it in. I couldn't sleep that night. And to me, it was like, okay, hold on a second. I knew that the part of my business wasn't as profitable as the other part of the business. And it said, here I am about to spend millions of dollars on an expansion for what? So I can maintain that top line? Is it a bragging right? Is it my pride that's going to be hurt if we give up that business? But once we did, it frees you up to now go after a new customer base, a more profitable customer base. And we didn't end up making that investment, which is okay. It's fine. I always believe that I got to make progress. We got to be expanding. We got to buy new equipment. That was kind of my scorecard in the business, but it's not. At the end of the day, we're in business to make money, and we should not be afraid of saying that, because that's how we take care of all of the responsibilities we have.
I think it's a very crucial point, what he's just said. And I think it's not just for stone fabricators, small business owners in general. I think it's for small business owners in general, that what you were just saying, Vinny, the ability to say no and sell at a higher price, not get into the price war, not allow your price to be your marketing tool to get a sale because it's so low. Because then you're going to sell too low, you're undervaluing the industry, you're undervaluing yourself, you don't have enough meat on the bone. And try to find a way to strategically learn how to add value. Because if you can show the value and you can sell value and you can do a better job conveying value to your client, they're going to definitely respect you more as well as appreciate you more. And I think that that's something that is an unspoken just in general in business, because you're trying to survive and you think you did it by working at a lower price. But at the end of the day, if you can't do what Victor just shared, take care of your people, make sure that you're on top of your safety, make sure that you're giving the proper maintenance to your tools so you can deliver a good product, etc., then it doesn't really matter how much work you have if there's not enough meat on the bone.
I think it's also important to have that conversation, particularly with your customer-facing staff that are fielding those questions. Why is your price higher than the guy down the street? And the ability to be able to share that message of it's higher because XYZ. We're taking care of our employees. We're keeping them safe. We're supporting the schools. We're involved in the community. You can have that assurance that it's going to be a quality job and we're going to be here in 5 years, to service you. And so sometimes we forget to deliberately have that conversation about how to say it. And it can't be Victor saying it. It can't be Vinny saying it. It's got to be your frontline salespeople that can say it with passion in their heart, because as a salesperson, we're all salespeople. I want to please everybody. I want everybody to be happy, but you also have to, be confident in your skill set to be able to articulate that sometimes we have to say no.
And the other thing is, I think, ask for help too. Take advantage of the industry's resources. Join the Natural Stone Institute. Join an organization that can give you information on, and ask leaders, how do I price these jobs correctly in my market? Am I pricing too low? I don't really know if my numbers are profitable for me or not. Take advantage of an industry organization like the Rockheads Group, like the Stone Fabricators Alliance, like ISFA,
there's a lot of good
so
ones
many
out
good
there.
resources out
There's
there.
a lot of good ones.
Kaplan Consulting. There are other consulting, companies out there in the stone industry that do a great job. So use those resources and be open-minded, because I know since we were in our 20s, he's always been thinking ahead and trying to network and trying to get involved in things and learn from others and share
Amazing
information.
how much information is out there, what companies are willing to share with you. We have, a lot of our vendors. I mean, if you go, a lot of them, some of them operate their own shops. They understand our world a little bit, and if you go to them, they're willing to, to share a lot of data. I've learned a lot from them. Even training, they've kind of opened up their doors to allow our people to go in there and share ideas, learn from their staff, from their fabricators. It's endless. You could really, even competitors. I mean, it's amazing what they're willing to share.
And to that point, one thing that is an eye opener, being now an outsider looking down at some of the shops and going in and talking to the people that are on the ground level, that they don't know what they don't know. They're living in they're living in your world. And when you just as simply, like, I've taken some of my clients to other shops and other site visits, or gone to a Rockhead conference, and I said, not just the owner go, but bring some people from your team. When they go and they just see what other people are doing, what other companies are doing, and just interact, their mind is so much more open.
Right.
When they go back to their facility.
Totally.
That's an investment, but it helps you even helps them when they're on the front line trying to defend that price increase. Mm-hmm. So they could see what others are doing, and that gives them the confidence.
And much respect, to the Rockheads group, and thank you guys for pulling me in and bringing me into the Rockheads. But prior to that, I only had a few people that I can ask stone-related questions. There was not any information out there, on YouTube.
No, very little.
Very little. Everybody didn't want to share. So it was so painful for me in the beginning, my first year. Even when I met Joe, I told Joe, I was like, you need to write a book or go on YouTube and just tell people how to use this blade, how to use this pad, just basic information about the stone industry.
It only took me 12 years.
And finally, he's doing it, and he's sharing it. But then once we got into Rockheads, you're right. Everybody's so willing to share.
Yeah, they're 100%.
So quick. They're excited to share.
Especially if it's within that organization.
Yeah, I was like, if I need this, real quick. Everybody's
we got great community, and I gotta say, the Poseidon customers, I'm very fortunate that we attract also people that are thinking outside the box, because we're different. We're disruptors. We're different. We're not the common stone equipment company. Yeah. We needed to have open-minded, people and that's a testament to our relationship, because even when nobody knew me 10 years ago, he, no questions asked, bought a 3-axis rod or a 5-axis saw, because we had a relationship in the miter splash. And I also helped get rid of some headaches, right? The rotating table, Brambana.
Oh my gosh, we had some really
winners there. We had
some really
I sold that. I shipped that to Italy. Really. But I have customers, and even now, even the local in Nashville, we had the ops manager from one shop in Nashville go to another shop in Nashville and talk with that ops manager and just exchange ideas and just share information. They both have the same equipment, but one does cookie cutter type of work, right? Big builder, and the other one does more custom. So they're not really, they're not competitors per se, because those are you could argue those are two different businesses, right? You got out of that business, and you're happy about that. So you're doing the custom stuff. More custom is more
custom, more
which
commercial.
I think that's where the market's going.
It's one of those things you cut. Doing that higher end work or more specialty work, we cut off more than half of the competition because let them fight for that other segment of the business.
Yeah, there's more
right
competition
now,
there.
There's a lot more competition. It's more price driven than anything else.
But I'll tell you, I've seen the other side of it as well. I've seen some extremely successful production.
Oh yeah, there are many.
Too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But
When
that's
it's done right. But
when
that's
it's
their
done
focus.
right, and it's that's their focus, and they really, you can be successful.
Sometimes it's not for
that
everybody.
either
Not for
market,
everybody.
which
Part of
you
this-
argue
but
back and
part of
forth.
this conversation that started was people's openness to go visit other shops, whether it's you as the owner or you're sending people. And ideally what you're ultimately looking for, whether it's a Rockhead event, SFA event, NSI, or any of our sister associations or any of the manufacturers like Poseidon, is when you go, you're looking for two things. And the one we often forget is validation. Validation that what I'm doing, I'm on the right track, coupled with what are they doing that's creative and innovative that I can adapt and take back. So, people often use this expression, if I walk away with one new idea, it's much more than one new idea. It's a validation of what I'm doing today. And the things that we sometimes forget as business leaders is we also all need a little empathy. And that is also given when you attend those industry events and go to those small group or big group events. So empathy, validation, and a couple new ideas. They all go hand in hand.
You're 100% right. I was talking about how much you can learn going out there, but you also learn about what you're doing right. I've been, it's a validation piece of it. I've been to shops where things that I thought were broken in my business, I was like, oh, we're not doing that bad. Yeah, there's definitely something to take back with me, but in this area here, I think we're doing a lot better than the average company.
And
out
you,
there.
like me, we network too outside of the industry.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
a lot. I think we get the same feeling sometimes when you go to those things.
Yeah, you know what I did was interesting a few years back, is I put a goal. I was writing the goal. I wanted to go visit a lot more fabricators and other people within our industry, and said, no, I want to go see other industries, right? So I wrote that down as a goal. I talked to a few people, and it was amazing how many doors opened for me to go see a medical facility, producing, medication, clean to, a plastics company and a beverage bottling company. So I wanted to do one a month, and I think I only did 10 that year, but it opened up my mind because now I got to see other manufacturing processes, bigger corporations, right? 100, 200, $300 million companies. It was actually a pretty cool.
And I'm sure you learned things that you could apply to the business.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Right.
Without a doubt. I learned a lot.
No, so the networking is super important. It's like I said, I'm very grateful for the community we've built, not just within Poseidon, but with our other industry organizations. And yeah, we have a nice open door. A lot of customers will say, if they want to, hey, Vinny, send your ops guy down to me and have him spend 2 days.
Yeah.
Like Jesse will do that, or Joe, or Dwan.
I think anybody in this industry is willing to help each other.
A lot of them are, yeah.
I'd like to amend my statement because I said empathy, validation, picking up new ideas, but there's probably a fourth, which you guys all do, is you also giving to other people and sharing what you're doing.
Right.
So it's not just what you receive, but it's also what you give.
Yeah.
And try to see how you can be of service too. Like I've gone to some of those outside industry events, and when people were asking me, I was giving real estate advice on things that work for me in real estate. But I realized too, when you give and you're of service and you try to help others, it always pays off tenfold because you're also learning and reinforcing things that you already know maybe, but now you're thinking about it in a different way. And you just are getting better. Like every time you teach, you're also getting better at whatever that skill is that you're imparting to somebody. So I think it's great to also try to be of service. Well, I think this will wrap up our roundtable for today. I appreciate all of you guys making the time to come out here.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to be
And
here.
we look forward to seeing you guys again soon.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Invite me to Miami anytime.
Game stop. Thanks, guys.
That's a wrap.
Good job, guys.